Good afternoon, HMS Bobcats. Mr. Flato here. Hope everybody had a restful and awesome weekend. I hope everybody is ready to come back and have another great week at the Helena Middle School. Today's Bob lesson, brand new Bob lesson, part one of a part two series. 12 years in doing this job, wonderful career as a school counselor. Time teaches, and I start to observe patterns, and I start to observe trends, and through those trends, when it happens over and over, it kind of gives you reliability or retest reliability or validation that yes, these are definitely developmental trends going on. And so I have been working on this two-part Bob lesson for a little bit here, a little bit there for the last couple months, and decided to finally over spring break put it together. I'm including 6th grade and 7th grade on this Bob lesson because this Bob lesson is going to go from 6th grade on a continuum through 8th grade. And so 6th graders, some of this is going to be review. 7th graders, some of this is going to be review. But really for 7th graders, it really sets up for maybe the more important back half of 7th grade, 8th grade, and then I'll incorporate 8th grade into that. 6th graders, you guys unfortunately have to wait till next year to see the second part of the Bob lesson. A lot of this review, a lot of this is just for you all because so many times friendships are such an important part of middle school that I do spend a lot of times on interpersonal relationships with middle school students because I do think it's such a huge social time and trying to figure these things out. And a couple things, if students know that this is a trend, students know that they're not alone, it's not something weird going on with them or their friendships or their thoughts or their feelings or their struggles or whatever. I hope that brings everybody a little bit of feel good or compassion or understanding. And so let's get rocking and rolling on this. Hope you guys like it. I hope you guys get something useful out of it for your own lives. And I hope you guys have a great week. All right, Bobcats, we are off and running. New Bob lesson titled Middle School Friendships on a Continuum. But first, let's be our best this week at HMS. Let's be safe. Let's be responsible. Let's be respectful. Let's be a learner. So how this Bob lesson really came together for me was over the years, my experience and my training, I started noticing different trends that happen at different ages, along with different ways to think about friendships. And so I thought that I would put it on a continuum to help students understand that maybe some of the things they're going through is natural and normal. And a lot of the conversations I have about friendships in my office are usually negative and problematic type of conversations. And over the years, I've learned that if looked at through the right lens and kind of observed from the right lens, students can actually use this to not only better understand what's going on, but also to make better decisions and help guide them on their ways in the evolving friendship circles. Many of you remember this. This is how I view friendships in 6th grade, coming in all jumbled up from 5 different feeder schools and other schools as well. And really, friendship is built on finding other human beings that you have common interests with, common goals with, common values with, common personality traits with. And we as human beings definitely organize ourselves by these things, and talked a lot about friendship circles over the years, starting in 6th grade. And a lot of you, virtually all of us, organize ourselves into groups that we find these similarities with. And this is a natural thing, I think, especially coming from 6th grade, where we're coming from all the different feeder schools and we're wanting to connect with like-minded kids. But I really started to observe 7th grade, definitely 8th grade. This is probably the number one 8th grade topic that I talk with students about, is that it's after students break themselves into these groups, now the groups slowly become refined, and everybody is trying to figure out not only which group do I fit into, but do I still fit into that group after a while. And so whenever I'm having a talk with students about this, I always think about a gold panner, panning for gold, trying to find the gold. And so I put that picture in, but wanted to talk about the definition of refinement, specifically the second one. The definition is the improvement or clarification of something by making of small changes. And a lot of times those small changes are maybe somebody leaving the friendship group, maybe somebody new coming in, and these changes are very normal and they happen over time and they continue to happen over time. kind of for more of you visual people out there. Going back to the Skittles example, specifically like the yellow and blue. Yellow and blue, you put those together, that makes green. For an example would be maybe you see yourself as a yellow and you're in the yellow friendship group, and then you get to 7th and 8th grade, you start to answer that question, who am I, a little bit more, and one day you realize, you know what, I'm more of a green than I am a yellow, or vice versa, you're blue, and you start to recognize, you know what, I'm definitely not a red, I'm not an orange, I'm not a purple, but I'm definitely a green. Or even looking up top on the right, maybe you are a red, and then one day you slowly start to realize, I'm more of a pink, or you're a yellow and you're more of a pink. And so this is another way that I think about friendships, and to go from the left picture to the right is a natural evolving thing that just happens over time as students start to really figure themselves out in terms of who am I, what am I about, what do I value, what are my interests, who do I want to be, all those awesome things. So that brings us to the continuum. For those of you that don't know what a continuum is, it extends on both ends and it never really ends. I'm going to be referring back and forth to this graphic here quite a bit, starting with 11-year-old sixth graders. And that is when that developmental stage really hits 11, 12 years old, where students and human beings start to really ask themselves, who am I? Who am I? That's identity versus role confusion. I've talked a little bit about this before. This was first tagged by Eric Erickson. And this dilemma is the 5th stage of psychosocial development. At the core is having an idea of core characteristics, values, and principles that we are. And when people look in the mirror and they get to this age, this extends, 12 to probably 20 or so. And it's a rapid time of really looking in the mirror and figuring out, who am I? What am I about? What sets me apart from other people? What do I have in common with other people, etc. This stage of adolescence, when we start to question ourselves and ask questions relevant to who we are and what we want to become and what we want to accomplish, as that ties into friendships, we're naturally going to progress to spending time around other people that have similar interests and view themselves similarly. And that's the whole concept of what friendship is about. Skills, abilities, relationships, identity, likes, dislikes, values, and more, all that stuff starts to get sorted out at this age. That's why you see so many friendships change when we go from 6th grade to 7th to 8th and then on to high school. The second part of this is values and interests start crystallizing. And values and interests crystallizing very closely to who am I. Huge part of answering that question, who am I, and starts to go deeper than I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm outgoing, I'm quiet, I'm athletic, I'm tall, I'm short, etc. This is also a major piece in deciding who we connect with socially and who we want to become friends with. We're drawn to people who have similar interests and values and personality traits. Knowing this is very fluid during the middle school, got a little typo there, years, and it also affects the fluidity of our friendships. No human being is the exact. I've talked about this a lot lately, it feels like, with students. No human being, your teachers, adults, myself included, are never the same day to day. We are constantly evolving one direction or the other. You may not notice it as much as adults because adults don't evolve. We are through this stage. Many of your teachers have been past this stage for years and decades, but that doesn't mean that we're not constantly always evolving. Kids at your guys' age, man, it's crazy when I see a whole new set of kids, 7th grade, 8th grade, over the summer. It's wild how much you kids evolve and change. And with the evolving and change, we can evolve in one of two directions. We can either evolve for the positive or we can evolve in a negative way. So hopefully we're all evolving in a positive way. All right, let's give away some jelly beans. This week's winners: Adam Velasquez, Aradia Rose, Cameron Pease, Jeremiah Hubbard, Kate Knowles, and Annika Donovan. Which of the careers, take away one letter, could be a different career? That would be banker to baker. All right, this week's jelly bean question of the week. Rolling 3 standard size dice, that's 1 through 6 on each of these sides. What is the highest combination someone could roll where the sum of the dice adds up to 10? So an example would be 1, 5, and 4 adds up to 10. What is the highest number? That would be 154 that adds up to 10. What would be the highest combination where the 3 digits add up to 10? If you think you know your answer, submit your answer to the Bob Box. Tune in next week to see if you're a winner. All right, Bobcats, let's make it a great week at the Helena Middle School.